I decided I'd put together a video tour of the fuselage and the rest of the airplane build so I can share some of this information with other builders. Things you'll see here are some of the stuff that you might not see in the build manual, and it should hopefully clarify some stuff. So here I am in the new hangar. Been here now for over a month, and really liking it. So closing in here, you can see some of the areas where you've got to put in the larger 3/16 inch rivets. This view gives you some angles that you don't get from the pictures in the build manual. Here you can see the firewall frame, and one of the first tests for most builders is to figure out how to put this together. So the tip there is the height on the left and right side is determined by the gusset that goes on the sides, and the width will be determined by the sheet metal for the firewall in the front. Here you can see the cross member for the windscreen. This was a little bit of a challenge. You've got to lay it on the fuselage and kind of line it up to see if you can get the holes put in the right position. So then moving back down the side supports, close-up of the 3/16 inch rivets. That shows up pretty good in the build manual, but again, down here, it's good to see what's going on there. Now here I've got two rivets right there where I have the 1/8 inch rivets, but I think I'm going to drill those out and put in 3/16. These ones as well might need to be reinforced because they're underneath the fuselage. Again, the build manual doesn't give any information to tell you how to do that. Moving back here toward the aft part of the cabin itself, not much to tell here. Everything went pretty well. The build was straightforward, and the pictures did the trick, I think, for what we were looking for. You can see that angle piece on the top is bent there from moving it around. Closing in here, you can see where I've got these pairs of rivets. Again, the build manual was hard to determine what exactly to do, but that gusset for the back of the cabin is supposed to overlap. The top one overlaps the bottom one, and you couldn't tell in the pictures. So when I first put it in, I had it too high, had to drop it down, and it's subsequently two rivets there. Here you can see where I've got extra holes. It was kind of hard to lay this in and get it set up straight. I don't know if I had the angle bad. Everything's lined up properly, and I did double measurements, but you can see the holes were out of whack there. The aft part of the fuselage build actually went really well, except for here with the tail wheel. There was no information, and what you find in the build manual is the old tube and steel construction from the old Ultralight design. So I had to guess my way through it. I think I did pretty good here. Extra rivets, or not extra rivets, extra washers to reinforce there with, I think those are 1/4 inch bolts. The tail wheel assembly here, no information on it, so you kind of have to look at the pictures that are available, go online, take a look there. You need the bolt and the washers, but there's nothing in the build manual to help you there. Looking underneath here, I put in a stronger plate here because I'm going to probably use this for cargo storage. I plan to put covering material across the back there. Moving to the inside. Oh, that's right. Well, again, right, the rivets on the right side. Going to be drilling those out and replacing those with 3/16 to make that stronger. Again, the right side, looking at the windscreen attachment point. I drilled the holes in the cross tube first before mounting them to the aluminum fuselage. Inside, I did some reinforcing on the back of the seat. You can see I've got the angle aluminum there, opposite directions on either side. When I first put it in, it wouldn't sit back cleanly against the back of the cabin, so I cut the tops and angled it on both sides so it fit a little better, and it works pretty well. Now, it's a little bit of a work in progress, but I think it works out pretty well that way. I think I'm going to upholster the seat, but I'm only going to do really thin upholstery on that. There you can see I've got the angles cut so it sits back cleanly on the back of the cabin. Moving forward again, just looking inside. That's the box that I had a real challenge with. You can do it well. It's going to be strong. It's going to work pretty well, but it does take some time and patience to build that. Another thing that was interesting for me was some of the sheet metal on the side there. It's to the right side. Oh, well, here we go, looking at the landing gear. Now, some folks are recommending that that hinge there should be welded together so that it doesn't potentially split. It's not mentioned in the build manual. I understand that Belite is doing it their way. Here for the front landing gear reinforcement, I put extra thick sheet metal on that, aluminum. It's probably overdone, but I figured that'd be a key stress point. I wanted to make sure that was reinforced well. Another close-up of the landing gear attachment points. This was a little challenging too. These washers have to be cut to be able to fit properly. You can kind of get hints of some of the pictures, but it's worth noting that they're supposed to be cut to make them fit. So again, it's a little more art than science here. Let's see. Got a problem with the brakes right now. My wheels don't turn, so I need to get in there and adjust the wheels to make it loosen up so they'll roll freely. I might even swap out for the disc brakes. You can see there that nothing's moving. It's stuck on the floor. So the disc brakes look like they'll be lighter and simpler. These drum brakes, they work fine, but I think they'll be a bit heavier. I'm going to wait and see. Should be easy enough to swap out. So there you have it. The fuselage is done. I'm waiting to cover it still. Be getting to that here in another couple days. Wings are almost done, so I can do the connections. Okay, so let's move on to the wings. I want to give a quick overview. This is going to be fast. There's been some important design changes to the wing. You can see on the root here, used to be a 1/2 inch plywood, now it's a 1/4 inch. And they reinforce it with this truss system. No mention of this at all in the build manual, no hints on the website, so it's pretty challenging to figure out what's going on. The sail anti-sail tube attachment points have changed. Was a 4-inch square tube that attached to the rib. Now it's that extruded T-piece. No mention again. You get the parts, but it's kind of a mystery. So here's a picture that you can see how to do that. Here you can see where the flapper-on cable attachment point fits on. Again, it's mentioned in the manual, but there's no instructions on how to do it. So I guesstimated the angle. I think it'll work out fine. Again, coming over here to the sail anti-sail attachment point. Now, one of the things here, this is where the trusses support the wing. And these square tubes here, they don't go here. It's mentioned in the manual to do this, and you don't put them there. They go on the root and the tip. So I talked to Belite, and they sent me some replacement parts. So apparently you don't need that reinforcement. Again, there's the sail anti-sail. My tip for putting these in is to drill those out and attach the sail anti-sail tubes, then use tape to adjust them back and forth to find a good way to make them match. Again, here's the wingtip with the truss system. It's easy enough to put together. Got some pictures showing the assembly process, and it can be a bit of a challenge. Now in the corners here, I have the carbon fiber tubes. They said that you shouldn't attach them there. I made a little square L bracket for the corner, riveted it to the square tube. Here, right, there's another change. The sail anti-sail tubes. In the plans, there's only 4. There's 1, 2. This is number 3. Then we come to number 4 and number 5. So they changed the number and they changed the length. So the root and the tip, you get 2-foot sections in the middle there. They're adjusted differently. So call for details. So there you have it. That's the tour of the wing. So now we'll move on to a quick tour of the tail assembly. You can see here the horizontal stab in the elevator. The good news is this build went pretty smoothly. The plans covered everything pretty well. You can see got all the parts put together, and I've got them sealed with varnish. Here's the angle piece. I was kind of stumped on this originally because I didn't know if I had enough of the trailing edge material to put that in there. So they only had the one and it was too short. Good news is you've got extra pieces of trailing edge, at least you should. And I have plenty as I'm working through this right now, so don't sweat taking some and cutting it out. Here on the leading edge, when I originally attached these, I was using the epoxy to attach that there. and you need to rough that surface up really good. I just had it on the plain surface and it kept popping right out, so I took it off, got the rough sandpaper and scrubbed it, got it really rough, and it attached extremely well now, so I don't see any problems with that going forward. Just kind of looking through there. I've got the fiberglass reinforcement in the center, kind of picking it up here to show you how this all goes together, and then to give you a quick demonstration of how this is going to mount to the fuselage. Of course, I didn't leave myself enough room here, so let's kind of move things over here. Now you got to remember that, or at least you got to know, that the build manual still shows the tube and steel welded tail assembly, and it's flat. So when you set this on the fuselage here, I'm trying to find a spot about how this is going to attach. It might go there because you got that tongue that sticks down, but maybe it goes all the way back here. I can't see how it would. There's nowhere for that to go down there. So the information that they provide is not very clear. I'm going to have to get that updated and understood what's going on. The other thing I run into is that, again, the old tube and steel horizontal stab is flat, and now we've got this airfoil shape. Well, I don't know how this is going to mount to the fuselage. I don't know. What the heck do we do here? So I'm a little bit stumped. Not sure how that's going to work. Now coming over here to look at the vertical stab in the rudder, again you can see this is covered with the Oratex. I mentioned that earlier in my blog posts. The Oratex is awesome. This stuff is great. It's a little more expensive, but I think that it more than pays for itself in the lifetime of the product. So now I'm bringing over the vertical stabilizer, drop this into place here so we can get a look at how this is all going to mount together, and you can see the challenge that we're going to face trying to figure out how everything is going to hook together. So you can see that I've got that bit of fiberglass reinforcement up here. I might have to tear that out. It's not a big deal, but I don't know how this is all going to attach. It's really not very clear, and the instructions just don't tell you anything. So this will be a challenge that I'm going to have to work through to see how that is going to be done. Of course, all the pictures I can find show completed airplanes, so you don't see any of this. There is a part in there that is a cross member, so the plans show a couple of square tubes, and this is all mounted together in there. So I don't know. What do I do? Right? At this point, your guess is as good as mine, and we'll figure it out as we get closer to it. I think it's going to look great when it's done, but right now I'm just like, geez, I don't know. So there you go. That's the overview. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this video. Wanted to show some extra tips, give you some visuals on some of the pieces that might confuse you. If you have any questions or would like specific videos or pictures of the things I'm building, please post a question on the blog. Thanks very much. Talk to you later.